Good evening and thank you for joining us. A federal cabinet minister made the trip to Thunder Bay today to talk up the grocery rebate contained in the federal budget. Minister of Families, Children and Social Development Karina Gould says the rebate will help Canadians cope with high food inflation. Vasilios Bellos was with the minister on some of her stops in the city today. He joins us live in studio to tell us about it. Vasilios.
Thanks, Ryan. About 11 million Canadians are eligible for the grocery rebate, though that money hasn't been distributed yet. The government says once the program is rolled out, it will make an immediate impact for Canadians struggling to put food on the table. But as others are quick to point out, it's not a long-term solution. It's one of the Liberal government's most prominent talking points from the recent federal budget.
It makes a world of difference in terms of being able to come in to a store like this and buy their own food.
Minister of Family, Children and Social Development Karina Gould made the trip to Thunder Bay on Thursday to promote her government's grocery rebate. It's set to support around 11 million people already eligible for GST rebates. Single Canadians and seniors will receive around $230, and couples with 2 children will get a maximum of $467. Gould's first stop of the day was fittingly at local grocery store Family Food Centennial, where she touted the impact.
What targeted measures can we provide that will not impact inflation, right? They won't add to the inflationary pressure, but support those folks who need it the most. Because of the targeted measures that we have taken, it has not increased inflation, and we're starting to see that inflation come down.
Family Foods owner-operator Nick Turkovic sees firsthand the immediate impacts that come from government rebates of any kind, with many coming through his doors when the dollars hit their bank account.
Pretty well anywhere in town, it just seems to lead to an influx of grocery business because obviously more people got more money in their pocket and they're buying the 3 essentials they need, right? Rent, food, and clothing, right?
A visit to Roots Community Food Center was also on the agenda, where Gould learned more about the services the organization provides the community.
This government knows we need long-term solutions.
Executive Director Aaron Beagle believes the grocery rebate will have a tangible impact with more money in the pockets of Canadians that need it most, but stressed it doesn't solve any of the vital issues.
People will continue to need help to put food on the table, and we need to see more benefits come in that support that, whether that is a guaranteed income, at a provincial level, whether that is a working age benefit, for people who are working and still cannot make ends meet.
It's still unclear exactly when Canadians can expect to receive their grocery rebate, with the Liberal government only saying it plans to bring forward the required legislation shortly. Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
The woman convicted of second-degree murder in the 2020 stabbing death of her 11-year-old son will learn next month how long she'll have to wait to be eligible for parole. 37-year-old Courtney LaBelle appeared in a Thunder Bay courtroom for a sentencing hearing today. The Crown argues she shouldn't get parole for 18 years. The defense says she should only have to wait 10 years, the minimum for those convicted of second-degree murder, saying LaBelle's actions were the result of a drug-induced psychosis. A jury found LaBelle guilty last September following a 6-day trial. LaBelle stabbed her 11-year-old son 31 times in the early morning hours of January 1st, 2020. The Schreiber Fire Department is warning the public to avoid the old curling club after the building collapsed on the night of April 1st. In a Facebook post, the fire department said the walls are currently being supported only by the substantial snowbanks, and further collapses are expected as the snow begins to melt. Fire officials are warning area residents to avoid the property.
I was on the couch watching TV, lying down on the couch watching TV. I heard a large crackling noise, and my dogs woke up and started barking, and then I looked out the window and seen a bunch of dust.
The old curling club is remembered fondly by many in Schreiber, but hasn't been used as a curling rink in decades. A day after the latest winter storm wildfires may be the last thing on the minds of northwestern Ontario residents, but the province's forest fire season officially began on April 1st. And while it's still too early to tell how the season will go, MNRF crews are ready to respond to any wildfires that spark up. On the heels of a significant winter storm, wildfires are unlikely to pop up in northwestern Ontario in the coming days. But Fire Information Officer Chris Marchand from the Regional Fire Management Center in Dryden says that can change in a hurry at this time of year.
Spring is always a time of extra concern for the fire program when it comes to wildland fires for a few reasons. Spring fires can move quite quickly through dead grass and dry brush in that period between when the snow cover retreats and the forest starts to green up. Spring fires are almost exclusively human caused and tend to show up in places near people, property, and infrastructure that really require a quick response.
Fortunately, provincial fire crews began preparing leading up to the official start of the fire season and are ready to deliver that quick response if needed. Marchand says it's too early to accurately say what will be in store this fire season, but the outlook appears positive at this time.
Long-range forecasts do indicate that we could be in for cooler than normal spring temperatures in the Northwest. This could help us hang on to some of the snow cover that we have a little longer, which is a benefit in helping to moderate that spring fire hazard.
And late snowfalls like the one this week can be a big help, assuming the temperatures don't then rise too rapidly.
A nice slow melt is always better than a quick melt where runoff can go into waterways just over frozen ground and not have much effect. So you want that snow to disappear nice and slowly and not necessarily be taken up by the winds. You want it to melt with rainfall and soak the ground well.
Marchand notes last year's fire season was one of the quietest that he can recall after a historically bad year in 2021. The province's top doctor is out with new recommendations on COVID-19 boosters. Dr. Kieran Moore says high-risk people should get a booster shot this spring. That's advised if it's been at least 6 months since their last dose or confirmed COVID infection. The Chief Medical Officer of Health's updated advice applies to several groups, including long-term care residents, those above the age of 65, and people who are pregnant or with certain immune system conditions. Everyone aged 5 and up is still advised to get a booster if they haven't since September 1st, unless they were infected in the last 6 months. Well, the province says it's sticking to its plan to build more than 1 million new homes over the next decade. The Ford government has tabled new legislation it says will help cities and towns speed up construction, but not everyone is convinced the measures will work. Siobhan Morris reports.
The proposed Helping Homebuyers Protecting Tenants Act.
It's the latest attempt to move the needle closer to a housing target the government's own budget suggests may be tough to reach.
Our goal remains to the one that I've committed to last summer, to get 1.5 million homes built by 2031.
To get there, the government is proposing letting municipalities change their boundaries whenever they like. The opposition says there's room to build in current boundaries in a way that makes more sense.
It's much easier to provide electricity, sewage, roads for homes that are in existing neighbourhoods that are already built for development than it is to expand infrastructure into farmland.
After a controversial reconfiguration of the Greenbelt late last year to allow more homes to be built, in this bill,
all existing Greenbelt protections are maintained. There's no changes proposed.
But Clark won't commit to sticking to that in future housing plans. Other proposed moves include freezing some fees, including for home inspector exams, allowing farmers to build up to 3 homes on their land, and forcing Ontario's 29 biggest cities to plan for growth near transit stations.
That makes a lot of sense. But we also want to see a commitment to build affordable housing near transit stations.
The bill includes some help for would-be home buyers.
Expanding deposit insurance for credit union members, saving for the purchase of their new home. We are also exploring implementing a cooling off period on purchases of newly built freehold homes.
There are already announced protections for renters against rent evictions, requiring proof that a unit needs to be cleared to be made over, and tenants being allowed to go back paying the same rent.
That was CTV's Siobhan Morris reporting. Well, in dire need of donations, the RFDA has received a big contribution from Haggy TV Bingo. The group has donated $10,000 to the Regional Food Distribution Association. Founded in 2003, the RFDA provides essential goods to food banks across the region. Haggy TV Bingo caller Gary Cooper says that the donations come from fans of the show, and a portion of the proceeds from every bingo card purchased go toward the donation.
We received a check for $10,000 today from Haggy TV Bingo. Donation will definitely be going to purchase food. That can make such a difference in the lives of so many in our community, and we are truly grateful.
I'm the original bingo caller for Haggy. We've been going now for about 19 plus years. The check for $10,000, okay? First of all, what we have to say is every person that has ever bought a sheet of Haggy Bingo cards, okay, they're the ones responsible for the amount of money that is being raised. Thank you very much. You be very proud. You're part of helping your fellow citizen here in Thunder Bay. Stay with us, folks. You're in for some fun.
Yeah, Cooper says fans of the show should be ready for a few changes, as well as more opportunities to win and donate big. Well, Magnus Theatre has chosen a contractor for its $8.4 million expansion project dubbed The Next Stage. M-Builds, which is headquartered in Winnipeg but has an office in Thunder Bay, will begin working in the coming weeks. Magnus is adding a more intimate 125-seat studio theater, as well as an expanded production shop, and fully renovating the bar and lounge area. Magnus Artistic Director Tom Curry says he's thrilled to have local people doing the work who understand how important the theater is to the community.
What I really like about this is that everyone on the team are also Magnus patrons. People who come to see shows at Magnus, people who know that we don't have enough parking, people who know all of that stuff. And one of the team members from M-Builds actually worked on the last Magnus when Magnus moved into the central school. So it's kind of cool to have that continuity and have that real local feel to it as we continue to build one of Canada's great theaters.
Well, for visitors, it will be great because having 3 venues operating at once between the summer stage, the main stage, and the studio theater will increase the number of live performances that people are able to see when they come to Thunder Bay, and it will also open up the space to community groups to be able to use as well. So it will definitely enrich arts and culture in the community.
Magnus expects to welcome audiences back to the main stage in spring of 2024. Well, turning to the weather now.